What's the difference between the guy that isn't scaling and the guys that are scaling? Can you talk about that?
You could be making irrational decisions. You could be jeopardizing some things. How do we grow? How do we expand? How do we take more market share?
The new tariffs. Everyone's talking about the tariffs.
Hey, you hit me here between the eyes on that one.
You actually opened up your Rolodex to me. You put me into the roofing's players of players all in about a week. I'm sitting here with Ethan Paquette. He's the regional manager over at Beacon. We're going to be talking today about price increases, about distribution, about the different manufacturers. We're going to be talking about training they do, which I don't think most people understand how much training you actually are willing to offer, what a partnership looks like, private equity in the space have you seen now, and we're going to be talking a lot about companies he's seen growing what they're doing, a lot of companies that stay stagnant. Welcome to the Roofing CEO Playbook Podcast. Build it to sell it. We're here to cut through the noise, all the rhetoric, to show you how to build your roofing business, make it profitable, where you make a boat ton of money. And the chart on top, when you're ready to sell, you can sell to a private equity firm and change your family's life. Ethan, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I know this ain't your thing, but I appreciate you making time.
No.
Tell people who you are, brother.
Hey, Lance, awesome. I appreciate it. I know we've had a long journey together here the last 3 years, and it's kind of cool to see. I was sitting out there in the shop tour and watching you give back to, building business owners that have been at it for a long time and they just want to grow their business. And you're there giving them an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes of unsolicited time. So pretty neat. Appreciate having me in. Me as a person, listen, I've been in this business now for about 13 years. I enjoy it. I love it. I live and breathe it. And I've heard you say it multiple times. You got to believe in what you're doing. You got to believe in the people that you're doing it with. I've been fortunate enough, with the team and the people at Beacon. It's been a great journey. So
You were a pro baseball player before you actually started at Beacon, right?
Yep.
And is Beacon your first job after that?
No. So actually I had, I don't know if we'll go all the way back there. I had baseball with my whole life, my passion. I loved all sports, but I really honed in on baseball, especially towards high school. I'm from Vermont, so baseball doesn't happen in Vermont typically. It's cold weather, but that was just in my blood. So went to the University of Vermont. I played baseball there for 3 years, and you talk about a little bit of adversity. Our program got shut down my junior year, going into my senior year. In my home state, the home place, and watching all my friends and teammates kind of go through that whole transition. That was quite a bit. After that, I was fortunate enough to go to Hofstra University. I played my last season at Hofstra. I got drafted out of Hofstra. Played a few years in the minor leagues, which I give a lot of respect for guys that stick it out and do that. It's a long journey. If you're not a top draft pick, you talk about grit and grind. Those guys, you got guys that are playing for scraps. You got guys from other countries that are playing for scraps to get an opportunity to move up the ranks. So that taught me a lot. Got released by the Mariners, played a little bit overseas. I played in Europe. I played in Australia. And as you just said, before I started with Beacon, I actually got my first job in roofing with Tecta America, which is a national commercial roofing contractor that's really grown their business over the last years. They taught me a lot, early on. So
you've been at Beacon for 13 years. You've seen some change.
Yeah, you talk about it. Yeah, both internally and then within the space, without a question.
Let's talk about some of the change you have seen. First, let's talk about our relationship, because I think people know that I'm pro Beacon, and they think I'm pro Beacon because of some reason. But I'm really pro Beacon because of you.
Appreciate that.
And what people don't realize is we weren't fond of each other when we first met each other at all. That's what people don't realize. Like, we didn't like each other. I'm sure you didn't like me. I didn't like you.
There was friction.
Yeah. And I said, listen, I'm going to come into the roofing space. I'm going to start making some changes. I'm going to start scaling these companies, selling to private equity, put these business owners in a better position. And everybody else laughed at me. You didn't. You didn't like what I had to say. You said, I don't know if we're going to go for this. But you actually opened up your Rolodex to me. to GAF, Owens Corning. So, I mean, you didn't just say, like, here's your local manager. You were giving me presidents and vice presidents, cell numbers and emails. And you really just like, just took us and said, you put me into the roofing's players of players all in about a week of every top person to talk to. So I could understand the space. And we've had our ups and downs, but then you started coming in and helping us with our training classes and product. And this is for the viewers so you understand, because I know, and I'm not gonna say anything bad about SRS or ABC because I just never would. I think they're probably good companies too. I think actually all three of you are probably very similar, except for the relationship you have with the person there. So much more comes down to rebate, because when we first met, everything for me was rebate driven, yes or no.
Yeah, it was a lot of the conversation was that's what it was all about.
And we don't even discuss it anymore, do we?
No.
It's more, how much training can we get? How can we get these materials? How can we get better, better deliveries to how, like, everything that's going to add real dollars to the P&L. People think that rebate is so short-sighted. Can you talk about how our relationship started, how it is today, and the ups and downs of it all?
Yeah, no, well, listen, I look back at it again, like almost 3 years ago, we're on the other side of Radcliffe. You had just sold one SEO. You know, you're just starting to get into this space in roofing. And, you know, I looked at it and I'd said, and listen, this is with Beacon's backing too, because listen, that's again, going back to the point of you got to trust and have confidence in the team that you work with. They trusted me enough to understand and say, hey, we're gonna be all in with this guy, you know, and we're gonna work with him because ultimately the message was, how do we grow? How do we expand? How do we take more market share? And that's my mentality. How do I grow? How does our team grow in Philly? And we can't grow without partnering with people that have that same mindset, that want to grow their business and scale their business. And I think pretty early on, I realized pretty quickly, you know, that you operated your business a little bit differently than most, and that you know, we didn't doubt that, you know, you were going to grow, you were going to scale, and you know, truthfully, I didn't I didn't think you were going to sell two monster businesses, you know, in 2 years the way you have, but it's been pretty cool to see. So,
You know, what do you see why so many other people just start? Because let's be realistic here. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just following a playbook. I'm disciplined to it. Why do you think so many other roofers that you see just start? Because you're in that thousands of roofing businesses a year, you and your team, which I give kudos to. Your customer service is incredible. But why do you think there's a difference? What's the difference between the guy that isn't scaling and the guys that are scaling? Can you talk about that?
you know, exposure, I think a little bit, confidence, those a couple things that come to mind. I have a lot of respect for any person that has the willingness to say, I'm going to start and run my own business, because there's a lot of risk for that. Especially you talk about your family, you talk about, you know, now I'm all in. I mean, so, you know, there might be stuff and things that you got to learn and bumps that you got to go through, but I got a lot of respect for that. I think people start building their business and then they start looking at other companies and try to just do that, and they get away from what their core stuff is. So I think there's a little bit of that. I think, you know, some companies might think, hey, we're really good at production, you know, and we might struggle with sales, or vice versa. So there's some doubt there, and then they start second guessing. I think the folks that really just want to kind of commit and say, all right, you know, I just want to grow, you know, I just want to think about how I can get better each day, how our team can get better each day, how I can build a good culture, how, you know, the employees that work for me are enjoying their lives and making their lives better every single day. So I don't know if that answered your direct question, but I think confidence is a big thing, and that all kind of spins into it.
You know, I believe you got to be a sales organization. I believe that you have to really push on sales. And here I'll give you credit. And I'm going to tell you something. We were in what was called production hell about a year and a half ago. I don't know if you know this. One started taking off. We were starting to sell million and a half, 2 million a month. It was starting to grow fast.
Yep.
And I called you up. And this is where relationships matter. I don't know if you remember this. You brought your team in here for a week straight with my production team.
Yep.
And helped us do the production process. You wouldn't tell us what other people were doing. You just helped us build our own production process from begin to end. Are you guys doing that for a lot of other companies? Are people asking? Because you came in willingly. As soon as I said, listen, I got a production problem here. I can't install it fast enough. We're getting bottlenecked. We have all these issues. You said, how about you let me and my team What's the guy that comes in? Really nice guy from
Mark Ross, Derek Ross.
I mean, Jesus Lord, these people can't even spend a whole week here. Can you talk about that? Are a lot of people doing that? Yeah, they're asking for help.
We would love it. See, that's what we talk about. Like, and I think here's the battle that we are like, right. We got that we're the distributor, and there's already a little bit of friction because we, to a degree that, we got to buy from somebody, they're trying to maximize their profits and all that. And in reality, we want to, again, partner with folks to grow their business, because if they grow, we're going to grow. And if they trust us, we're going to grow. So we offer it a lot of times. And some folks say, no, we're good. We're in a good spot. You got to kind of have to let your guard down and listen, we don't know everything, right? And every business is unique, but I think sharing perspective and ideas is essential. So.
But you can tell everything. This is why I say it's so obvious. You can tell by how many shingles they're ordering from all the distributors. You can find that out.
Yep.
You can see, so the size of their business within a certain percentage. I can tell by where you live, your zip code.
Yep.
For the most part.
Right.
I can tell by what kind of car you drive for the most part.
Right.
Kind of watch you wear.
Right.
These certain indicators that give you some insight, like you're not hiding. Do you feel like people are trying to hide it from you, or because being open, why not just be an open book? I'm lost on that.
Yeah. Again, I think there's actually more of a movement over the last 4 or 5 years. People are more open to it. They're more open to hearing different perspectives, but I still think there's a lot of folks that are like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. Either get on board or get off. And, we can fill those gaps too. We understand that's, part of the game and that's part of the industry, but I would love to have open and honest conversations with every one of our partners, with every one of our customers, because I look at it like a marriage. My wife and I, we're going on 10 years of marriage.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And in July, I have 3 young little ones, and it's not always easy, as you know. But I look at our relationship, there's ups and downs, but we're consistent. I want the best for her. She wants the best for me. We want the best for the kids, and if you transition that to the business world, you're trying to build relationships with partners the same way. You want their best interest. It's not always going to be easy. It's going to be friction. There's going to be some conversations, but if you can be honest and open and get through that stuff, only good stuff happens.
I want Beacon to make money. I want you to make money. If I'm going to make money, I want you to make money. I just want you to be fair with me, which you have been. So I can't say it. I'm just saying, but that should be everyone. I feel like so many people when I meet, they're like, Lance, what's your rebate? And I don't tell anyone my rebate because it's no one's business. I just think the rebate's the most irrelevant piece of this whole puzzle.
Yep.
What I say back to people now is, how many times are there sales trainers coming? How many times are there production people coming to help you? How much training are you doing for your employees? Because that's going to move your P&L a lot more than one extra percentage on a rebate.
Yeah.
Or am I wrong with that?
1000%. I mean, it's again, you open up the books and like I said before, we don't know everything, but we know how to try to steer and give our suggestions on maybe some little tweaks that can help, and there's probably a lot of things there's gaps that you guys are, the business owners doing well already, and that we might not even be privy to. And it's like, this is phenomenal, so if you do just this little thing here, or you let our team come in here to help break down, placing an order, as simple as that,
you did that for us. You trained our people how to do orders. You were here for a full week. You literally trained our people how to do the orders, do the POs through Service Titan. Yes or no?
Yeah. 1000%.
I mean, that.
But you got to be willingness. You were willing to say, you got carte blanche. Come in here. I'm going to give you the time, and we look at that as a prime opportunity to be in the trenches. Hey, build relationships with everybody in there. Your core customers, there's layers to it. We have a good relationship, right? It's killing time, but you also have to build relationships with everyone else within the organization.
100%.
So that's a portion of it.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us today. I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Service Titan and Rilla, our technology of choice to helping us scale and grow our business and making sure all of our viewers have the technology to scale their business so when they want to sell it, they're able to.
But going back to the original question, I think about it a little bit more. I think, people have a stigma, and that the stigma could be that, distributors aren't willing, or manufacturers for that matter aren't willing, or they're standoffish because whatever it may be. I think our goal is to try to break some of that down,
I think the manufacturers are different than the distributors, and I know you got to watch what you say here. The manufacturers, no, and that's not, the distributors is really only three major players, right? You got you, SRS, and Beacon, right? You guys are the three major ones, right?
Yep.
And so, like, that's going to be a fight of, because you guys don't have any product. You really just resell. You're a middleman. And people don't understand that. Like, that's all you are. You have no product of your own you produce. Is that correct?
That's correct. Sorry.
You're a logistics company.
Right. And we ran we had this big consultant a couple years ago, and they pulled customers across the country, and they all asked, what separates Beacon from ABC? And I forgot what the stat was, but it was like 80% of them were like, oh, they're all the same. And it was kind of like a punch in the gut, because you're like, oh no, Beacon's this, Beacon's that, and all that stuff. And I think it was just distribution as a whole. There wasn't really, we're all selling the same products, so what does separate us?
Well, I'll answer the question. For me, what separates you guys is, it's real simple: the sales training, the product training, the constant communication, the willingness to help us navigate. I mean, listen, you were in here, and I'll be very transparent, and I'm not putting, the manufacturers on blast, but you see my relationship with the manufacturers, like many people, are not good. Like, even other, like, real big private equity firms don't have good relationships. We were just at Titan, and there was probably 100 private equity firms, and the main conversation was the manufacturers just they don't care about the level of volume. They are very resistant to any change because it's a monopoly, right? And I know you can't comment, which is fine, but this is the conversation, and that leaves for a lot of friction for you, because it's tough for you. You're more profitable than the manufacturers. Most people don't know that. You are. You guys actually have better margins, but the manufacturers don't even try and give on volume. They just rate increase for no reason anymore. This is the conversation we're having, and it's becoming absolutely insanity. Where at least, and you sat in a meeting with me where there's a company that's trying to break into the U.S., this market very bad, and I'm going to assume I'm one of the biggest orders of shingles here in the Northeast region, probably top 10.
Yeah.
Right? So
No question.
no question on that, right? In the Northeast area, region. So I said, I'll help you promote your product. I'll help you. I think I've been an advocate for Beacon because of our relationship, right?
Question.
I said, I'll do the same for you guys. I just want to be treated fairly. And I just want to have the same. And I say this to everyone. I say it to anyone. I just want to be, whatever your lowest person pays, I just want to pay the same. That's all I ask for. Just treat me as you treat your best paying person, and I'll advocate for you and build a relationship. And they said no, yes or no. And they're not even in this market. And we would have bought them anywhere. But that's what's mind boggling to everyone on our side of what's going on with these manufacturers. Maybe you have more insight to it, but it's just really mind boggling to all of us.
No, I hear you, and we've heard that, and that feeling's real. Like, it's 100% real. And the only, and this is no corporate,
Yeah, no, I mean,
this is
if
me
you don't
talking.
want to answer the question,
No. This is me talking to you as my own experience. Is we got to just continue to build the conversation together. I think there's truthfully too many conversations that happen between us and then the manufacturer, or the manufacturer with you and then us, or us and the manufacturer without you. We got to be in a room together to be able to have a conversation to try to at least move the ball forward. And that's just not me. I'm just saying in distribution as a whole, like that, there's a partnership, there's a triangle there.
100%.
So again, there's logistically, you would have to have, we service customers because that's our thing. Manufacturers need an outlet because they can't deliver shingles, right, to all of your homeowners on a daily basis. They need us, right? And we need you to grow. So why are we always in the room together? Why is it always separated? And I think the best scenarios and the best success stories in our space is when all three parties come together and they work it out and they agree and they figure that out. No matter what the manufacturer is and no matter what the distributor is. Obviously, I think Beacon, again, unbiased, or being a little biased, I think we do a pretty good job with that, better than others, but I think that's where it stems from.
I mean, you definitely put me in the room with everyone, and it's amazing to me just from a business side how someone would be like, yeah, I'm going to attach my car to this horse and help grow my brand and my business. Um, and then they wind up getting no shingles out of it. He's like, and my relationship with GIF is a very good one. People don't understand that. It's really because of Tony Fromo and Dan, because they're good guys.
Yeah.
And they really have gone out of their way. Every time there's been a problem, the one thing I will give Tony Fromo and Dan, they've come in and they've stepped in and they've been stewards of their word.
Right.
Like they really have been. So, and that's the thing. Like they try to work, and they're the big boys, and they try to work. It seems like the smaller guys don't even try to work with you. Like they at least make the attempt. Or am I just missing the whole thing? I'm just. It's really puzzling to me. Ethan.
Again, it comes down to people, right?
Yeah, I guess I'll let me and Framo and Dan have a good relationship.
Right. And so I think that just like as we've kind of evolved our relationship over the last 3 years, like you gotta be able to feel confident in the person that you're sitting next to, side by side with, because like I said before, it's like a marriage, good, bad, or indifferent. But if you all want the same thing, things are gonna be good. And I think you, truthfully, you look at it that way.
I do.
You don't, and I'll praise you here with people watching. I mean, you don't look down on distributors. You don't look down on your vendor partners.
I don't call them vendors. I call them partners.
Right.
I hate the word vendors. You know that. I like the word partners because we both got to work together to grow. I want you to win.
Yep.
I want to win. And if everybody wins, everyone's going to be happy. And I always say this, when people sit down at the table, everybody has to eat.
Yeah.
Everybody has to. If you ever notice, when we sit down and eat a meal, I always eat last.
Well, a little tidbit that I really, I know you've talked about over the time, and I heard you today a little bit too, incentivizing your team and incentivizing the people to have skin in the game, that's a big deal. If people on your team, or people even that aren't on your team that are your partners in other ways, if they don't feel like they have a fight or skin in the game, what are they going to do? They're going to drag you down.
Oh yeah.
Or so
Go somewhere else.
Right. Exactly.
Here's a question for you. The new tariffs. Everyone's talking about the tariffs. How's that going to affect Beacon?
Hey, you're hitting me here between the eyes on that one. I truthfully, I'm not sure fully how it's going to play out because I think this whole thing is still evolving in front of us. I will say this: there's certainly core products, there's core things that are either going to impact, anything metal, right? That's a real thing. So
I mean, that just put IKO out of the United States for the most part.
Yeah, it's certainly it's going to certainly be a tricky one to navigate for them. I know they have a great business in Canada.
Yeah, I mean, they almost did me a favor.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, but I honestly, I think it's going to be involved. When you go back to it, you got to trust. Listen, Beacon's the largest publicly traded company in the space. And I'm not going to speak negatively on anyone else. ABC is a big company too.
Oh yeah.
You're not, they're going to be able to fight and navigate.
SRS is a big company.
SRS is a big company too. So, but I think it'll be interesting to play out. But I will say that it will certainly have some sort of impact on us short term, long term. Truthfully, I think it's going to be a good thing for the business.
I think long term, it's a good thing. I think short term, this next 12 to 18 months is going to be a blow to a lot of people, but that's okay if we rebuild our country back and start taking things back and going the right way.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at it from our industry and our business side of things, and not to get into the politics of any of it. I just look at it as this is when you need to double down and find the people that you can trust and that you can work with and that you can grow. Because if you don't now, and you're trying to navigate challenges or potential challenges in the future, you're going to be left out there on an island.
Yeah.
So
here's a question for you. How has technology impacted the roofing space in your 13 years?
Wow. It's funny you asked that. So I started 13 years ago. Beacon didn't have Salesforce, right? We weren't on Salesforce. We kind of had our own reporting. On Sunday nights I'd stay up, I'd be watching football or a movie or something like that, and I'd be jotting down like what we were doing, and all that. So that evolved to internal, in Beacon wise, Then I start seeing all these other companies that we're selling to, contractors are trying to grow their business. They got to have a CRM, right? If they don't, they're going to kind of be behind the eight ball. You have folks that are old school, they have mailers going out and there was a time and place. Long story short is it's night and day. It's night and day. I mean, I'm shocked to go into customers' offices now that they aren't on a CRM, some sort of CRM. I'm shocked. They're still out there. There's still some folks out there. I'm shocked to see if folks don't have some sort of accounting software that they use to help automate that. It goes down to the root of it. Uh, Everybody orders from Amazon for the most part, right? And so they understand it to some degree that it's come. It's
Oh
come.
yeah, it's here.
It's here. So if you're not adapting, you're not growing and learning. I will say, again, Beacon from the front end of just an ordering process, and with our Pro Plus platform, it was a couple years ahead of everyone's else. Everyone's kind of trying to catch up, and everyone's fighting for different portions and pieces of that. But that's how that's how everyone understands it's so important to the business. Everyone's trying to race to see who can get to there first. You listen. Let me flip it back on you. I mean, you're all in with technology. Why are you all in with technology?
I mean, I'm not a roofer, so I'm a technology company. And it's funny, when we first met, remember, probably 3 years ago, but about 2 years ago, when I got service tight to go on roofing, you were like, I don't know. You were like, we're the AccuLink, Speaky's not going to do this. And do you remember the conference in Ben Salem?
Yeah.
I said, Ethan, I'm not asking you. I'm fucking telling you. If you guys don't get on fucking Service Titan, I'm out. And you're on Service Titan now. You're fully integrated. It's now being rolled out. It's working. We had a fix for our organization with Service Titan. We worked on together where we could PO right through it. But think about that decision-making process you had to make in that moment, in that room, where I was like, Ethan, I'm fucking out then. Let's just tell me now. And I was out because I needed to know.
Oh, I knew you were out.
That technology is like, I'm not a roofer. I need technology.
Yeah. And it's important. I mean, it's crazy to think about, as we're sitting here right now, your folks are out there placing orders live that are hitting our system, that are being picked and loaded on our trucks.
Without talking to anybody.
Without talking to anyone, because the process is in place, the training's been done and all of that. And I think it certainly help you guys scale your business
without a doubt.
to automate a lot of things, and not to take, automation and technology, I think people are scared because they think it's going to take people out of the business. Good people and responsibility, you need leadership. You still need someone to manage what's going on. You still need people and PMs to be out there to be the face of your team. But you can create a lot of efficiencies if you're with technology, So.
And that was a friction point for me and you. And Bill asked me probably like 3-4 weeks ago, what do you think was the pivotal swing that really made you understand roofing? I gave you credit. Yeah, I'm going to tell you now. I said, Ethan did. Because when I was getting into the space, I was like, ABC blocked down. ABC was only worried about what was in it for ABC. How much are you going to guarantee them? And I'm like, God damn, you're missing. I'm trying to figure out, okay, how many vinyl sidings are there? How many products like Hardy are out there? And you'll show me them all. You're like, yeah, this guy's like, you'll be very truthful. Like, here's another product. Here's another. And that's if you really want to scale a company. You got to know what your options are. Not, I'm just going to go with one or two things. You have to know the whole field. And you gave me a 5-star education on the whole roofing space that probably would have took me 5 to 10 years to figure the fuck out on my own.
Well, it's especially important now. Like you were just talking about Philly Metro,
right? Now you have me already Phil and everyone else.
Yeah, right. You're in other markets where there's nuances to every market.
There is,
and there's new folks, there's new people, and you got to have that line of communication open. You got to be able to make sure that things are going to be running as efficiently as they are here.
And I guess how many people talk to you as much as I do that are your customers?
It's a tough question. I'd say, listen, I think we have a pretty strong relationship. So there's not a ton, but that goes back to the positive. I think I have a lot of good partnership with customers and have open transparency. They can call me a lot.
I would tell you to call more and ask questions. I'll call you up and say, listen, how in January, we had a good sales month. We had a terrible production month in January.
Yeah.
Do you remember I called you up like 6 a.m? I was like, Ethan, because I'm fighting with Bill. I'm like, Bill, we got to get this shit fucking installed. Like, we have to get it installed. We got to get
the cash.
And it snowed a lot. It was freezing temperatures a lot. So I called you up. I'm like, man, how is your, you're like, nothing's coming out of the stores right now, Lance, where you're at. Nothing. He's like, you're our biggest person going out of the stores. And at that point in time, it made me go like this. My anxiety was through the roof, right? Not my anxiety, my desire to want more on the ground. But if you're not talking to you and find out what's going on, how are people gauging the water?
Yeah, well, you could be making irrational decisions. You could be jeopardizing some things just because, we see it all the time where, you're trying to fight and build a backlog because you're worried of what's to come. And that one move or decision could make or break your business.
Oh,
Listen,
without a doubt.
if you're just starting up your business, right, and you're in panic mode and you're stressed, I mean,
It's over.
yeah. So
What's the
good to have a
biggest
good team.
piece of advice? What's the biggest thing you've learned in the 13 years in the roofing space? What's the biggest thing you've learned yourself?
Um, listen, to be consistent and authentic, and that's I don't know, because I've gone through periods in my own career that I've had to look myself in the mirror and say, A, this ain't me, and B, I'm up and down. You know, um, I think I learned that with sports and getting a feel for other people around me and on my team and all that. But I think those are I know might sound cliche, but I think those are real things. Like if you're not consistent, you can't get too high, you can't get too low. You just sold your company for what was it, $36 million? You know, you woke up the next day with money in your bank, but I don't think you changed as a person. I don't think anything impacted you. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
Me and Bill were on a Zoom at 4 o'clock Saturday morning walking through stuff because I had to coach my kids at Wildwood Duels.
Right. So don't get too high, don't get too low, and be who you are,
Um, and then I don't want to hold you up too much longer. I just have another question for you here.
Yeah.
Private equity has come into the space. And 3 years ago when I told you they were coming, because you really didn't know what it was at the time. You knew what it was, but it wasn't in the space like it is today.
Yeah, you've educated me a lot on that space.
And your people above you didn't believe it. A lot of people are still betting that it's not going to make it. You're not one of them, but there's manufacturers out there. Owens Corning told us point blank that they don't believe PE is going to make it in the roofing space. I literally just put my head against the wall. I love Brianna. I love Owens Corning. I'm not saying a bad word. But when they said they don't believe it's going to make it, what have you seen with the private equity space? What have you seen with them coming into roofing, and how's it changed?
You got to embrace it. Like, it's just like any change. Embrace it. Sit down, try to have conversations. I'm fortunate enough that we talk and we have a relationship that you've been able to introduce me and have some conversations with a lot of folks.
I introduced you to 3 or 4 of the biggest platforms.
Correct. And so, and I think everyone's a little bit nervous because they don't know, but once you sit down and have conversations and you work it out, I mean, the faster you can do that, I think the better off it is. I don't think it's going anywhere personally. At least for, the next several years, and for us, I live, all right, what's the next 30 days on our end? What's the next 3 months? What's the next year look like? That's where I'm at. And right now that private equity is not going anywhere in that time frame.
Are there roofers that you're dealing with talking about private equity coming in? Are they talking about selling their business? Are they talking about what their companies are worth to you? Are they asking you questions?
Yeah, it's more so than ever. I think, and again, it's just like everything. It's about the people that are there, and I'll be honest with you. I don't know all the private equity players, but I certainly have had conversations with folks that I think are really on a good path. And I think there's folks that are still trying to figure it out. And I think there's folks that probably started on the wrong foot, So, but that's on us to help try to bridge that gap. And, because I think, and then that's speaking for the contractors,
Absolutely.
So for them. So
What advice would you have to someone that wants to start their own roofing company right now? Because you've seen it all in 13 years. What advice? Like if your brother came to you, do you have a brother?
Yeah, brother and sister.
He said,
older brother, older sister.
your older brother comes to you and says, Ethan, I want to start my own roofing company. What advice would you give him?
Well, I would tell him this right now, that if he doesn't have a good, stable spot in his life right now to commit and dedicate everything to the business, don't do it. Because I've seen things over the years where it's like, I'm not gonna say a flash in the pan, but someone starts, they're not really all in, and they experience a little bit of early success, and then boom, it's gone because they blow it on whatever it may be, luxury items, a big fancy office, overpaid salespeople, you name it, So you gotta have, you gotta be, as the business owner, you gotta be the person that's gonna say, you know what, I'm all in. I'm gonna make sure I'm all in, and I'm gonna make sure that the people that I bring along with me are gonna be in line and with my vision, you know? So I think that would be the first advice. Cause I think a lot of people say, hey, I want it. Listen, I'm not gonna lie. I've thought about things over my career to say, hey, you know what? I want to go out and run my own stuff. It's been a little bit of a different conversation, but I would say overall, they got to be all in, you know?
You got to be all in. Ethan, thanks for coming in. Ethan, if someone wants to get in touch with you and ask you about Beacon, talk to you about anything, roofing, anything, how do they get a hold of you?
856-298-0959. Call me anytime. My email is ethan.paquette@becn.com. I'm always open to talk and have a conversation. I actually welcome it. So thanks a lot, Lane.
Ethan, I want to thank you for our partnership and everything you've helped me over the last 3 years. I do appreciate it.
No, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Yep.